When 3rd Battalion, 5th Marines got the mission to go to Sangin and replace 3rd Battalion, 7th Marines and 40 Commando of the Royal Marines, we knew that we were going to be in for a tough fight, and we were going to be taking over the area of operations by ourselves. The mission that we were given from 1st Marine Division Forward was to conduct full-scale counterinsurgency operations in Sangin District in order to expand governance, security, and economic development. The expectations coming in were that this was going to be a tough fight. The British had been here for 4 years. They had suffered over 106 dead here in Sangin District. So, like I said, we knew that this was going to be a tough fight. Patrol bases, forward operating bases were essentially ringed by white Taliban flags all the way into 100 or 200 meters within our positions. Some positions would receive fire regularly, several times a day. As soon as you left the front gate or left the ECP, you would start taking incoming, and Marines would literally have to run out of the way of that fire to get to a covered and concealed position. The challenge that we had that makes it a little bit more unique from some of the other areas in Helmand Province is that this ground had been fought over for 4 years. And what that enabled the enemy to do was to figure out what ISAF's tactics were, figure out where ISAF was going to put their forces on the battlefield, and then use their primary weapon, which was small arms and the improvised explosive device, to try and restrict ISAF freedom of movement as much as possible. Because what the insurgent really wanted to do, what the Taliban wanted to do, is to pin or fix coalition forces into their patrol bases, not allow them to maneuver or move outside of those patrol bases, and then the Taliban would be able to do whatever they wanted in the rest of the AO. And that's essentially the position or the situation that we walked into in September of 2010. For the people that lived here in Sangin, honestly, the Taliban ran 95% of the district. When we started pushing out into the battle space from our patrol bases, we met heavy resistance. Not only did we start running into the I.E.D. belts that the enemy had used or employed over the last 4 years, but we ran into squad and sometimes platoon minus size insurgent elements that would swarm as the Marines moved dismounted across the battlefield, and they would move into positions to ambush us. So there was a significant insurgent network that already existed in the AO, and when we went outside the wire, essentially we had the entire population, it seemed like, that we were fighting. In order to clear Sangin District, the battalion needed to conduct some deliberate operations fundamental to changing the nature of the security situation here in Sangin. The first and probably most important operation that the battalion executed was Operation Outlaw Wrath, the clearing of 611. Before the 611 was shut down by the Taliban, and anyone moving out of the district center or where Giroa was would be shaken down and harassed by the Taliban on 611. I knew that this was not going to be sustainable if we were going to push security out, and so over the course of about a month, the engineers with assault breacher vehicles, bulldozers, MRAPs, MATVs fired 24 MICLICs to clear that area and ended up reducing or destroying a total of 52 I.E.Ds. Once the 611 was open, that was truly the turning point in terms of us being able to reinforce units within the Sangin District, which helped our readiness significantly. From there, we conducted Operation Dark Horse 1, which was India Company's push into Gambati. It was followed by Operation Dark Horse 2, which was Lima Company's push into the Wishton, into an area which was an urban maze that had tied down a lot of British forces. After Wishton was open, after the 611 was clear, after we had moved into Gambati, we were able to actually push out into areas and hold those areas clear. That enabled us to push into areas that the enemy had never had ISAF presence. And then also Operation Red Hawk, which was another Kilo Company helo insert into the Tugay area, all the time trying to disrupt enemy defenses, get behind their I.E.D. belts, and disrupt and kill or capture the insurgents that had been hiding in areas that we had not been able to get to. A couple other operations of note are Apache Rage, which was after we had secured most of the northern green zone, the southern green zone, the fish tank and the Wishton area, and it quieted down during the winter time. We were able to actually start disrupting the enemy's network of sanctuary, bed down locations and cache locations in the eastern desert. And Apache Rage is the operation that we conducted over the course of February, and then the Operation Gold Shillelagh, which was conducted in March of 2011 in the Malmend area, which is an area that neither NATO or the ANA had ever been to except for Special Forces operations. After 3-5 completed its campaign in Sangin, there was no place that we couldn't touch. There was no place that 3-5 Marines could not go to anytime they wanted, and the Taliban would be forced to give up that ground or just leave the area altogether. The result of this was an expansion of the government, because now provincial government, which was responsible for providing resources and people to expand Jaroa in Sangin, felt confident that the security situation had improved enough that they could send people up to Sangin, and those people would actually stay and do their job and not have to worry about being killed. The kids were back in school for the most part. That started probably in early January 2011. People felt confident enough in the security situation that they were willing to start sending their kids back to school. That was a very positive sign. The governor started getting out, expanding his governance and expanding his outreach to the people and explaining to them what the government's positions were and what the government had to offer. The police were expanded to over 300 officers. The ANA were very, very confident and were more than willing to take the lead on patrols and to go out and even do independent operations at the company minus level. And sometime in the mid to late January timeframe, ANCOP, Kandak arrived in Sangin and moved into the fish tank and Wishton areas. The increase in the ANSIF and in their capability and confidence had a dramatic effect on security in Sangin. That Afghan to Afghan relationship between the local nationals and their ANSIF countrymen really started facilitating that. At that point, we pretty much had the population on our side, and now the Taliban were the outsiders, not the Marines. The benefit of 3-5's campaign to clear Sangin is that the people of Sangin no longer had to live under Taliban rule and Taliban subjugation. And they were able to live their lives relatively freely. They were able to send their kids back to school. And by the end of our tour, there were probably over 1,000 shops in the bazaar, open, doing business, new signs on stores every day, and an economy that was just going gangbusters because people felt good about the direction that Sangin District was going. We have proven to the people that the Taliban are not some insurmountable foe or not some boogeyman that's out there, and that they can be pushed around just like any other group of criminals and thugs by a disciplined military force. And the Marines have proven to the Afghan people that we are their friends, that they can trust us. We have proven to the Afghan National Security Forces that we will stand beside them and fight with them and support them in their attempts to retake their country. And we have proven to the government of Afghanistan that we are standing here side by side as guests in their country to try and move security forward and secure a lasting peace that is going to create peace not just for the people of Afghanistan, but for the people of America and the West when the Taliban can no longer export their terror and hatred to the rest of the world.